I'm afraid of you all. I'm afraid of the shock of sensation that leaps upon me, because I cannot deal with it as you do. I cannot make one moment merge in the next.
My name's Lisa Vickery. In April this year, my twin brother Stephen killed himself here in the River Thames. He died 2 days after our birthday, and he was 27. There was no suicide note. Ever since then, I've been trying to understand what drove him to it. And when I started to look for answers, it became clear my brother Stephen was not alone. Last year, nearly 1,000 young men between 15 and 34 killed themselves in England and Wales. It's the second highest cause of death in that age group after road traffic accidents.
Society is at the moment giving out completely contradictory messages, and the most destructive message you can give anyone who's hit any kind of wall is don't talk about it.
The strange thing is that more women attempt suicide than men, but more men actually completely act.
If you're going to be a real man, you need to be strong and silent. And actually being silent means that you're being a victim.
My twin Stephen had problems from childhood. He was bullied at school for being different. He was very feminine at an early age. He would sit with my nan and sew or help her. My dad would take us to the park and I'd be the one climbing the trees, and Stephen would be picking daisies and making daisy chains. It was around the time he was 16 that he actually came out about being gay to my father, and my dad's very old school, so that didn't go down too well. I think that's when he became very solitary.
There's a stigma of being depressed, there's a stigma attached to being gay, and it can make people feel isolated. And one of the things that we know is that if people feel isolated, cut off from the people around them, that makes it more likely that they will choose to solve their problems by ending their life.
Stephen became more and more isolated in his 20s. He was unemployed, he had money problems and relationship problems. He found it difficult to ask for help, and eventually he withdrew into himself. He told me that he'd been diagnosed with depression from the doctor and been prescribed pills. The only treatment Stephen received was anti-depressant pills, which may actually have made things worse. He stopped taking them in March. He was dead within 2 weeks.
When someone clearly has a range of problems and issues, to prescribe antidepressant medication in the absence of other support and help would be quite problematic and is almost asking for trouble.
Professor Salkowskis believes talking therapies should be used more widely to treat depression.
You have thoughts of killing yourself?
Yeah.
This is cognitive behavioural therapy, or CBT. In this simulated session, what the patient sees as overwhelming problems are discussed, analysed and broken down.
We actually help them consider there's a different way of doing it, and then to actually do something to, instead of staying in bed, getting out of bed and, you know, applying for a job or doing something that's more concrete. Sadly,
I'll never know whether CBT could have helped Stephen.
CBT is known to be highly effective. It looks like around 70% of people will show considerable improvement in a rather short time.
Despite the government's new £170 million initiative to train more therapists, current waiting times for CBT referral can be as long as 2 years. With so few options available to them, desperate young men are turning to a range of exotic, alternative solutions. One of these is equine therapy, and according to Rupert Young, the twin brother of pop star Will Young, horses helped him get back to good health after a long period of depression and self-harm.
I was very drunk and I took a bread knife and I just cut my wrist from here and severed my main artery, and then I passed out, and the next thing I remember I woke up in a hospital the next morning.
Rupert eventually found help in America, where he was introduced to equine therapy.
I was given a set of challenges. I had to go and get the horse and bring it back, and that gave me my first ever experience of peace.
He's now set up his own charity for people suffering with depression. They don't only help suicidal men, but also those coping with bereavement, like me. Rupert suggested I should try the horse healing for myself.
Just take a few moments to sort of tune in and appreciate the beautiful environment that we're in and the animals that we're working with today.
And maybe tell him what you're feeling.
Oh. I have to say it did nothing for me, and I worry, as it costs £1,000 a course, it's well beyond the reach of most needy people.
Well, it's entirely understandable that people turn to alternative therapies because people are desperate. Doing something means they're taking control, and it can undermine hopelessness. It's not a treatment, let's be clear about this.
Like my brother, many others end up suffering depression in silence. But at Canary Wharf, they're trying to make a noise about it.
Young men who are feeling suicidal tend not to be able to ask for help. They feel it's unmanly to be miserable. Well, I'm here at Ogilvy, one of the country's top ad agencies, because they're trying to work on ways to change young men's attitudes towards seeking help.
The agency has come up with a series of powerful ads for the charity C.A.L.M, the campaign against living miserably.
It's making the campaign sexy, aggressive and fun.
The images are provocative, some are even funny. It's a fine line for the creative team to tread.
Quite often it's not something people want to talk about, so you have to kind of break through those barriers.
You obviously use a lot of black humour in your imagery. Do you think suicide's funny?
Well, it's a very funny question, but it can be addressed and understood through humour. I don't think there's any coincidence that a lot of comedians can be very dark and can be also very depressed, but humour is a really good way of understanding a problem that you couldn't possibly talk about if you talked about it in a straight way.
Stephen would have loved that. An artist himself, his paintings often had a disturbing edge.
He was sensitive, he was very artistic, he was extremely intelligent, he was unhappy, and he found life difficult to cope with.
You can see that clearly enough in Stephen's paintings and in the books he loved. He was a fan of Virginia Woolf, who also committed suicide.
I think he really related to her, and it's a horrible, horrible thing, but that's what I and a couple of his other friends thought of when we heard he'd been found in the river.
I made one last trip down the river with the RNLI lifeguards who recovered Stephen's body near Tower Bridge. My feelings are the same as those of anyone who's lost a brother, a son or a father.
It's been 7 months now. I don't think I'm any closer to finding any of the answers as to why Stephen died. But along the way, I've learnt that you don't have to suffer in silence. You can be vulnerable and you can ask for help as a young man.
It's comforting to know that young male suicide is being taken increasingly seriously. But Stephen fell through the net, and sadly there are still too many others like him.